more. I'm really starting to get rather irritated more than usual with her and Beta Blackford, as they just seem to be completely oblivious, deliberately oblivious. You know, they're consciously making a decision to not refer or mention any of the developments within the European Union, as it blatantly is heading in the direction of becoming the superstate. But they just still sit there and sing the praises of the European Union as if it's this utopia of all these countries working side by side, the happy family of partnerships, when we all know where the European Union is heading. And it seems that the SNP are quite content as they consciously leave these parts out whenever they talk about the European Union, knowing full well that that is the future that Scotland will have to succumb to. I made it clear that I thought it was for the people of Scotland, not him or I for that matter, to decide our future. Oh, she's really talking it up now, isn't she? Okay, let's backtrack a little bit here though, because you know where you say it's not for him or I for that matter, it's always been about you. It has always been about Nicola Sturgeon. She gained a record level of seats in the elections running up to the EU referendum, and that was solely down to independence. Many people voted for the SNP because they wanted independence. They were unhappy with the 2014 referendum. Now they can sit there all day long and tell you it's because of all the wonderful progressive politics that they have since incorporated into Scotland in such times, but it's not. It was independence. Now, she then told her record level of support that she'd managed to obtain in that referendum in 2016 that if you're wanting independence somewhere down the line, you need to vote Remain. The premise for independence doesn't arise, so obviously by default that kind of secured a mandate. Now, she wanted to rely on the UK voting to remain in the EU because it's always been about remaining in the EU. But if that failed, she would have a mandate to rely on potentially later on down the line. Now tell me exactly how that isn't about her. And now and only now she's starting to talk up. And now and only now she's starting to speak about us deciding her own future. But if the UK had voted to remain in the European Union, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. She wouldn't be sitting there right now talking about us having a right to decide our own future. The only reason she is saying this now is because there's a possibility of her dream of crashing out of the European Union slipping out of her fucking fingers. This has got nothing to do with you deciding your own future. This has got nothing to do with me deciding my future. This is about her. Clearly, Boris Johnson takes a different view of that, but it is not, in my view, a democratic position to block the right of the people of Scotland to choose, and I made that clear to him. Oh, did you now? Did you I? Oh, pat yourself on the fucking back, eh? Helmet Head said she would make her views known on if she would accelerate the legislative plans on building an IndyRef framework after the summer recess. The IndyRef framework. Johnson arrived to meet Helmet Head to be greeted by a post of pro-independence and pro-EU demonstrators. What's fucking new? Asked if Johnson had given any indication as to whether or not he would grant the Section 30 powers to hold a second referendum, she replied, "It's not for me to put words in Boris Johnson's mouth. The position he articulated to me privately is the same one he's articulated publicly, but I do think, what happened to not putting words in his mouth? Perhaps he is not at his most comfortable when he's trying to justify why it shouldn't be for the people of Scotland to decide their own future." Listen to that. Who the fuck does this woman think she is, first and foremost? And this all, of course, derives from the fact that they repeat consistently that they have a mandate for a second independence referendum, that it's already secured. It's just a matter of when they choose to act upon it. They don't, in fact, have a mandate as such. They do have a mandate that they secured because we voted to remain in the European Union, thanks to her telling them to do so. But we haven't been, quote-unquote, dragged out against our will, therefore they can't act upon it. However, they ran with the angle that they have a mandate for an independence referendum, and they simultaneously then tried to pass through their framework bill, which would have effectively fast-tracked a referendum, and all they would need was permission from Westminster to then call upon that referendum to the people. The objections and the backlash that emerged were all directed at the premise of that independence referendum, which would have derived from the framework bill. But they have managed to infer that Westminster, and Boris Johnson in this case, is standing in the way of Scotland having a right to our referendum, Scotland having a right to act upon its mandate that they obtained in 2016, when it's just simply not the case. They're deliberately conflating the two to make out that Westminster is refusing to respect the mandate that the SNP could potentially have later on down the line, albeit they can't act upon it yet. Nobody has even said anything in regards to the mandate, yet the SNP, or Helmet Head in particular, want you to think that that's exactly what they are preventing the SNP and Scotland from acting upon. That framework bill would effectively shoehorn in a referendum before we've left the European Union. That's where the backlash derives from, yet the SNP, or Helmet Head in particular, want her followers to think that all the backlash and the objections and so on and so forth are solely down to them having a mandate. Helmet Head also says she believes the path on Brexit that Johnson's government is pursuing to be dangerous. Of course she fucking does. It became clear that the government, the new PM, has set the UK on the most path to a no-deal Brexit. You know, the onus is on the European Union whether or not they wish to have a free trade agreement. If not, then fuck them. That's the way that I see it. Let's not pretend for 1 second we're actually getting out of the EU. Come on the fuck. It's not happening. I made abundantly clear to Boris Johnson my opposition to Brexit and to a no-deal Brexit. We've never heard the end of your opposition to Brexit. From day one, you've been doing everything in your power to fucking stop it. And if all else fails, you'll rely on independence, in theory.